CBN lift restriction on domiciliary accounts. Holders can now have access to at least $10,000 of their money every day. Welcome to Business Daily. I am Yusuf Akogu. We take our top stories. Glad to have you back. Now we take you to the stock market, of course, to update you about how the market went down last week. Friday, the market is on right now, but we are giving you the data as it went down on Friday, and we start with a snapshot of the market. Of course, the all-share index went down 0.33% on Friday, of course, to close in the negative territory, while the all-share index also lost a little over 500 basis points to remain here 59,000.96 basis points as well. The market cap also remains strong, though, even though it lost about close to 500 billion, 32.1 trillion. It ended on Friday. Of course, 622.416 million volume of shares, value at 6.510 in the deals of over 9,417 exchange hands among investors on the day. Of course, we look at our gainers for the day. We have, of course, the like of WAPIC, FTN Cocoa, and of course, Transcohort, all doing good there. Most of them are middle cap stock there. WAPIC gaining 66 kobo to close positive at 10%. And of course, if you look at it, FTN Cocoa also gaining 1 naira 35 kobo there to close positive at 9.76%. And of course, Transcohort also gaining a huge number there. You will say 14 naira 60 kobo, 9.69%. On the losing side, we have the likes of NEM Insurance, Abebit, and of course, CWG Computer Warehouse Group as well, all not doing so good there, down 9.87%, 9.52%, and of course 9.50% respectively. In terms of sector performance, top trader, to say it's the Living Trust Mortgage Bank gaining 103 million volume of shares that he traded at the United Bank for Africa. Access Bank also doing great there, though not the volume of trading you will be expecting from these two top tier 1 banks in Nigeria capital market. In terms of sector performance, we have, of course, all of them down in the negative territory, reflecting why the market closed that day negative 0.33% as it were. The banking sector is down, industrial down, consumer goods down, oil and gas down, of course, the insurance sector all in red. We expect a rebound today, Monday. Of course, let's look at the rest of Africa. They are not also doing so well. South Africa is down. That Johannesburg Stock Exchange is down 0.56%. And of course, it's only in Ghana, there, our next door neighbor. The market has maintained the same position as it were last week, 0.13% positive. But down there in Kenya, Nairobi Stock Exchange is down 0.01%. I have joining me now from Lagos, Charles Fakroga, stock market analyst. He joins me via phone from the Lagos. Mr. Charles, good morning.
Good morning, Yusuf. Thank you for having me on the show.
Glad to have you again. Tell us, how is the market faring at this moment?
Okay, looking at my machine currently, yes, the market is looking positive. Right now, as I speak, the all share index is 0.15% up, and we have done volume of over 113 million units of shares have been traded. Currently, on the gainers chart, what I'm seeing, FTN Cocoa is gaining, Honeywell Flour, Unity Bank, UBA, all these ones are already on the positive side in the green now. Looking at the loser side now, I can see Ella Lakes, John Oak, Charms, of course, Unilever, and of course, SKB, that is Smithline B-Charm. You know, these are on the gainers charts. But again, like we always say as traders, the market has just started. Just some few minutes ago when we had the continuous trading, this is from 10:15, and now this is about 11 and thereabout. So the market is still very fresh. We'll see, we're going to be seeing increase in volumes, and of course, we're going to be seeing more and more orders coming to the market as more brokers come to the trading floor, and of course, those who are trading online from their offices. So the market is upbeat, and for what I'm seeing now, obviously, well, maybe it's too early to say, but see the market closing in the green zone at the end of the day. However, I might not be correct because the market is still very early.
Absolutely, indeed, the market is very early. Like for over two consecutive trading sessions, we saw the market went back to red zone, as it were. Recall that when the implementation of the unification of exchange rates was actually announced, we saw a rebound in the market. So much gain we saw there over that period. But again, we are seeing a downward trend in the market right now. What will you say is responsible for this? Are we seeing profit taking in a way, or what will you attribute that to?
Yes, you are correct. You know, when that policy was announced, the market reacted positively. Of course, the suspension of the former CBN governor, the market reacted to that positively. And of course, the unification of the exchange rate, the market responded positively. You know, that is government policy. And of course, the market, reacts to government policy. Again, you cannot have a market that continues to go up. Of course, we saw that increase Tuesday, Wednesday, but of course, people will take profits. So that's why we saw the market pulling back at Thursday and Friday, losing 1.31 and of course 0.03 as at Friday. However, we must also note that the market is going to cross, or it has even crossed that 60,000 mark. So you can see that with positive information, the market will go up. Traders and investors are positioning themselves for July because of earnings season. We are expected to see some Q2 reports coming. So what traders are doing now, and that's why I expect the market today to close in the positive territory, because traders and investors are going to be repositioning themselves so that by the time we get to July, the earnings seasons, they will have been there already and take advantage of some of these earnings numbers that will be coming to the market in the month of July.
Interesting there, Mr. Charles Fagruga, stock market analyst. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. We'll keep a tab on you, of course, to know how the market will close today. We hope it closes in green, like you rightly predicted. Absolutely. From there, we move into the topic that we'll be looking at today, which is still on the monetary policy reform as well. Quite a whole lot has happened in that area in the last couple of days. And of course, economists and analysts have been reacting to the development in that sector. We have one of such economists, Ali Audu, who speaks on the program today.
Cut down on a lot of problems, a lot of economic issues, a lot of unnecessary gains and benefit. Because what happens is that there's one exchange rate in the central bank, and some people go through the back door to go and get dollar at very expensive, very cheap amounts, and then they bring it back into the system around trip, fueling the exchange rate gap. You also notice that some banks do it also, fueling round tripping and encouraging inconsistencies in the economy, disparity in the exchange rate. It should not be so. I remember during Sanusi's time, the exchange rate was harmonized because there was freedom, there was a good supply of FOREX, which is what we want. We don't want anybody to take advantage of the market. We don't want anybody to take advantage of the inconsistencies. We don't want that. And that affects the Naira, causes a lot of economic issues. That is not good for the economy at all, in any way, in any matter. So this unification of the exchange rate is good. It's only good for Nigeria because it eliminates the black market and it stops fueling the black market. And you now have a few Nigerians that think they have political power going behind back doors to get exchange rate at a cheap rate while they turn it back into the black market and make gains on Nigerians. I think is unfair. So liberalization of the exchange rate is a very welcome development, and this has to do with demand and supply. It's just like the subsidy. A few Nigerians were taking advantage of the subsidy and becoming rich overnight. Now, the removal of subsidy, which was very expensive for the country, that means the typical the Nigerian citizenry were being charged to pay for some few Nigerians becoming rich. And that's exactly what is happening in the exchange rate regime.
Interesting. Ali Audu, an economist there, reacting to the reforms ongoing in the monetary policy. And again, the BDC operators, the one we call the black market in Nigeria, are also reacting to the development. They commended the policy. Take a listen.
This new leadership, honestly, they are proactive. They knew where the shoe pinches, and they quickly go there and solve whatever problem it has. In fact, you will think this government they've ruled for 2 years, and they just number of days. These are the things we were agitating to the last administration to do. Well, we all know they've done their own, and the new administration is doing its own the way they understand it. And we're attacking them, and we're praying for them. You see, this rate of 450, 550, 650 is a corruption. It's nothing. It's just corruption. And look at the way this government swiftly reacted to it. No, we thank them.
Reactions there from various sectors, the economists, and of course the BDC operators who are directly involved in the trading of this currency. I have in the studio now Wilson Agaba is a policy and of course a business consultant. He joins me right here to dissect this topic. Good morning, and always a pleasure to having you here.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, you've listened to some reactions there to this policy.
Yeah.
What is your immediate reaction to that?
Oh, well, I am not one that is easily excited about a policy unless I scrutinize, because every policy has its strengths and weaknesses. I would usually want to analyze the strengths, look at the weaknesses, and then look at what needs to be done in order for the strength to surpass the weaknesses and the tendencies and capability of the people in charge to do those things. To start with, unification of the exchange rate, it's been long coming. We shouldn't have multiple exchange rate within an economy. I can understand why it was like that before, because we are a developing country, and then if you want to stimulate production within the country and within your own economy, there are certain policies that you must put in place. And they should only serve for such a time period. Let's say, for instance, you want to improve agriculture. All right, you might want to do a lot to subsidize agricultural equipment, inputs, and all of that coming into the country. So by so doing, one of the ways you can incentivize it is to give them a different exchange window. You know, if you want to increase manufacturing within your economy, for instance, you can also give that kind of a window to people who want to bring in heavy equipment and all of that that are not produced in the country. But I don't think that is something that should be there for a very long time. It should be a strategy for solving an existing problem, and once you solve it, you move ahead. But because of the fact that most times we make policies and don't intend to implement them and see them to the finish, we usually start things and hang it there. Just like you mentioned, the issue of fuel subsidy. It was never supposed to be something that will be there forever. But you see, it became like a bone in our neck. We couldn't swallow, we couldn't spit out.
Absolutely. There was something you mentioned about giving a timeline.
Yeah.
Maybe making a short-term arrangements to benefit some maybe importer and exporters. Maybe that is what you're actually referring to. But now we had this multiple exchange rate before. We had the one for IRE window, which is the one we have adopted right now. There's the one on the CBN official window as well, and of course the regular black markets, which some have said that may actually go into extinction. Now let's look at this. Now we have had this thing before, but there was, in a way, I don't know how you view it. Was it really effective? Because most exporters and importers were really finding it difficult to assess this special window that we talked about. Most of them have to go down to the black market.
You know, all of our problem in this country has a common denominator. And the name of that common denominator is corruption. And that is why I keep saying that unless we take corruption out of the way, or reduce it to the barest minimum, and make it uninteresting and unattractive to people, we cannot move anywhere. Now see what happens. The special windows were created, and as you would have it, Nigerians, people who know people in high places will quickly go and position their companies to qualify for the minimum, the barest minimum qualification to access such windows. And then using their connection, they access it, take it and round trip. Meanwhile, the real business people do not have access. And how does this happen? Because government itself does not have a database of the businesses that need these things. If you have a database and if you have been monitoring them for over sometimes, you can actually target these policies at individual and specific businesses which are providing these services.
You mentioned round tripping. There's so much talk about this round tripping. Do you think the CBN is innocent of this? Because it's difficult for you to do round tripping without having the connection.
I think it was General Sani Abacha that once said that when insecurity lasts beyond 24 hours, government has a hand in it. For the black market to thrive, for round tripping to thrive, the CBN definitely has a hand in it. This is not me accusing them. When I say they have a hand in it, it is either they are promoting it in one way or the other, knowingly or unknowingly, or they are seeing it and not doing anything about it. And I'll give you an idea of how I know that the CBN is deliberately not doing certain things and also doing certain things. For instance, if you give an official rate for exchange and then there's a parallel market that you still fund, you give them FOREX, they go and sell at a margin. I mean, you are creating a market.
Exactly.
Then, let me tell you what happened recently. You could no longer pay for, say, your website hosting or your software subscription using your Naira card. You have to go and get a debit card or a credit card, and then you cannot tell your bank to debit your account with Naira and credit your credit card with dollar at the official rate. So what do? You go and source for dollar from the black market. What has the CBN done? They have created a market for the black market people. So this is why I say they are culpable. Because you ought to have identified the genuine business people who truly need this forex in order to keep their businesses moving. The government, on the other side, ought to figure out the services that many businesses are requiring from abroad. If we are hosting millions of websites here in Nigeria, what should the government do to ensure that more forex does not go on website? If we are doing advert on Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them, what can the government do to make sure that we are not paying those people forex? You are able to get them to open offices here. Why don't they collect their money in Naira? You know, so these are things that ought to have been put in place. Now we have a new exchange, unified exchange, which is very good. One of the things it will do is to kill round tripping. Round tripping will no longer happen. The parallel market, they are going to find it difficult because they are almost out of business. They have to source their own forex now and sell at their own price, anyhow they want it. The banks too, they will have to go into the business of sourcing for dollar and selling dollar at their own price. The CBN will have less pressure and then they can concentrate on other things. But here is a problem. Businesses that depends on inputs from abroad are going to be getting it at a very high rate for now, because the only thing that can bring down the dollar against the Naira is if more dollar begins to chase the Naira. And that can only happen if we begin to produce things that matters to the world. Don't forget that globalization is encroaching on us. And whatever we produce now have to be benchmarked against global standards.
Absolutely.
You know.
Interesting. So quite a whole lot to be done in that sector. By the way, Naira has appreciated in Windows since that policy was introduced. Anyway, but now let's look at the new circular that CBN released yesterday.
Oh yes.
Yes. I mean, announcing a removal of limitation.
Yes.
From domiciliary accounts.
Yes.
For that now, holders of the accounts can at least withdraw $10,000 per day from their accounts. So what do you think? Is it like the policy flip-flop or somersault that we have always had?
It's you know,
we didn't even need to suspend it in the first place.
Yeah, we ought not to have. We should have targeted specific things that are making the outflow, that are increasing the outflow. Fix them so that the outflow will reduce. But you know, we like quick fix. For we Nigerian, if your house is leaking and the water is falling on top of your face, you do two things. Buy a handkerchief and buy a bucket. You clean your face and you use the bucket to collect the water and go and throw it away. Instead of climbing this thing and fixing your zinc or your roof. So we don't like to take the long way. We don't like to, because to provide a permanent solution takes time, takes energy. We don't want to do that. So what we were doing in the last exchange regime was like buying handkerchief to clean your face when your house is leaking. It is never going to be a permanent solution. It's going to keep your face dry for a few days. As soon as it starts raining heavily, you can't control it. That's what we had that time. We didn't need to block all of those things, and that discouraged a lot of foreign investors because they bring in their money from their own economy, make money here, and then you block them from repatriating their profit to the mother company. The mother company is counting on the profit from this the company over here.
Absolutely.
You can see that as soon as that was overturned, a lot of foreign investors started coming in. You see the stock market rebounded and all of that.
Exactly. We hope that will be sustained.
Yeah.
Let's look at still on the exchange rate unification right now. Before now, CBN has been involved in defending the Naira using our foreign reserves. You know, but now that in a way has depleted
the foreign reserve.
So what do you think will happen to the reserve now that we don't need to go there and withdraw dollar to come and defend the Naira here?
Well, since we won't be using it to defend the Naira anymore, it means less pressure on it. We can actually grow it and take other advantages of it. But don't forget, this will have its own strength, it will have its own weakness. Number one, as you can see, you said that Naira has appreciated. I don't think so. It depreciated.
Well,
the moment the first
yes,
unification was, it went
over
to
790. It came down to 500. It moved back to 750.
And after this morning,
it came back to 663. But it closed at 663 on Friday.
Okay, and as at this morning, I was on another platform before, and I was talking on this same issue. I checked, and it was 720 something as at around 7:30 in the morning. Yes, that's what I got online. So what it means in the immediate is that the things we bring in from other countries are going to be costlier for us in Naira when you convert it. And since we are a consuming economy, that cost will go into the pricing of all those items for us. It will skyrocket inflation, and it will make cost of living so high, and more people become miserable. Another impact of it is our foreign debt servicing. If we had a foreign debt based on dollar and it was 461 as at the time we took it, now that it is hovering around 690 and 700,
some have said
we need to raise more Naira.
Yes, some have said that our debt will jump by 4 trillion.
Yes, it's going to jump by that much. It's going to jump by the percentage that your Naira has depreciated.
Depreciated, absolutely.
You understand? So we'll need to gather more Naira to be able to fund our debts. So that's another aspect. Although it may encourage foreign investment, because if you have a little amount of dollar and you bring it into Nigeria, it's going to be a lot, and it can do a lot of things to start your business.
Maybe with this, maybe the demand for dollar may reduce, and of course that may strengthen.
It may reduce, but again, these things cannot work except you support it with the relevant monetary and fiscal policies.
Which is what the new president has started.
Oh, yes.
We wish them all the very best, because when they get it right, it also affects the economy as well.
Yeah, of course, we want them to get it right. In fact, we need them to get it right.
Absolutely. Wisin Agaba, Wisin, I must thank you for your time on Business Daily. Always a pleasure sharing this studio with you.
Thank you
so
very much. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Yeah, with that, it's a wrap on Business Daily today. Join us again tomorrow for more. I am Yusuf Akogun.